It's 4 o'clock. I would like to call the Banner Civil Service Commission to order. All commissioners are present. First order, approval of minutes of June 24th, 2020.
I move approval.
Second.
And
It
I'll
moves-
do roll call since we're meeting remotely. So
Right.
Marion Knight,
Present.
Are you going aye? Are you voting aye for the minutes? I think we're voting on the minutes, right?
correct.
Okay.
Did you vote aye, Marion?
Aye.
Okay. Tracy? Okay, we may. looks like
Aye.
Tracy. Okay, thank you. And Tom?
Aye. I'll try to keep the Zoom going the whole meeting this time. The last time, I don't know what happened.
Yes.
And I tried
Right.
and tried to make it come back and it just wouldn't do it.
Okay. Okay. Minutes stand approved. Public comment.
Okay, if you would like to comment, could you raise your hand in the chat, please? You can also unmute yourself. Is there anyone who's interested in making public comment?
Hello?
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Yes, Christopher Hansen, would you like to make public comment?
Yes, I would. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Christopher Hansen. I've lived in Urbana for almost 20 years now. I've started following your meetings this year, and I've spoken a few times in the past, and the general concern that I've described is my feeling that there is a disconnect between the employees of the city and the public whom they serve. And the point I've made before is that my feeling is that the Civil Service Commission has come up with, sometimes some very flowery sounding positions such as community engagement coordinator. And it isn't clear to me that these types of positions and the type of language that your commission is using is actually being followed through on by the people that are being hired who, are and should be serving the public. So I'm going to try to, and I think that's important. And I've looked at your agenda today, and I see you have a couple positions that you're going to be talking about. And I looked at the descriptions, and I see that you do have as a requirement that they need to uphold the city's mission and values statement. And I went and I searched on the city's website, and I searched on Google, and I searched and I searched and I searched and I searched, and I cannot find any stated publicly posted mission or values for the city of Urbana. And the only thing that I could find that was even remotely close was the 2005 comprehensive plan, and that doesn't state a city mission at all. And it kind of uses the word values, but it's very clearly not a publicly stated list of values that the city has. So, and then what I did is I went back and I looked at previous meetings of the Civil Service Commission, and I found many, many job descriptions where your board has listed that the person who will fill this position needs to uphold the city's mission and values. So I'm pretty competent at searching, and I'm wondering if I can't find the city's stated mission and values, how is any of your applicants, how are they to find it to see what they're supposed to be upholding? And can anyone tell me now where I can find the stated mission and values that are being espoused in your job descriptions? So that's my question, and I really hope someone will answer it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? If there is, you can unmute yourself, or you can let me know in the chat. Okay, I am not seeing anyone raise their hand. Okay, I don't see anyone.
Okay. Then we'll move on to action items.
Okay. So I will start off with the HR assistant and HR coordinator positions. Unfortunately, we have received news that Rhonda Collins, our benefits coordinator, will be retiring later this fall. So anticipating that vacancy, we looked at her job description, and it was last updated in 2014. There's been a lot of changes since that time, especially with our financial system, Munis. So Rhonda performs a lot of work in Munis, and so we felt it appropriate to not only update the job description to reflect the current needs of the city, but also to expand it somewhat. So we devised 2 levels. Currently, there is a benefits coordinator 1 and a benefits coordinator 2. Rhonda is at the 2 level, of course. Not knowing what type of applicants we're going to receive, we wanted to offer 2 positions so that we could really get a large applicant pool. Most likely it will be an internal search first, but it could go external, just depending on a lot of variables. So the person, whoever is selected at which level, they will also likely be doing quite a bit of data analysis using Munis. They will be inputting a lot of information into the system. So that's going to really be a large part of their job. Benefits coordination and administration will still be a core function, but being able to leverage Munis is going to be significant as well. Any questions?
You need a motion
No.
to approve?
Yes.
I would move to approve.
Well, I'll move to approve the human resources coordinator unless Tom already has. I'm not sure.
I think I did, but I won't fight about it.
Well, then I second.
Okay, to move to second. Any questions? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll do the roll call real quick if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Marion Knight.
Yes,
Okay. Tracy Nally.
Yes.
Tom Betts.
Yes.
Okay.
okay. Liz,
And then for the HR assistant,
I would move to approve the position and description of the HR assistant.
Second.
move to second. Questions? Roll call, Liz?
Marion Knight,
Yes,
Tracy Nally,
Yes.
Tom Betts.
Yes.
Okay.
okay.
All right, thank you. So the next action item is a new classification. It's actually an old one that we're bringing back. So we had at one point moved the assistant city engineer position. We had divided it into 2 positions, and we had moved it outside of the classified service. We are now moving it back in because of reorganization in the engineering staff team of Public Works. So being that that position is no longer heading the division as it was an assistant, it now truly is going to be the assistant, most likely reporting to the city engineer. So under that structure, it would go back into classified service. We have updated it as well. There weren't a whole lot of changes, but there were a few. So we are requesting that it be brought back into civil service. Are there any questions?
Not for me. Well, I would move to create the assistant city engineer position.
Second.
Been moved to second. Questions? And Liz, with roll call?
Certainly. Marion Knight,
Yes,
Tracy Nally,
Yes.
Tom Betts.
Yes.
okay.
I
Next.
think that
I think you're up, Fami.
I was going to say I don't want to talk over anybody. The next item on the agenda is a request to establish a passing score for the position of office specialist. Excuse me, you guys approved this job description back in May, and there is currently an active recruitment for it at this time. And so we're requesting that the passing score for this position be established at the minimum qualifications listed there in your memo.
Well, I would move to create the passing score as the minimum qualifications.
Second.
Move to second. Questions? Okay, we have roll call.
Marion Knight,
Yes.
Tracy Nally,
Yes.
Tom Betts.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last item is a request to supplement the list of candidates on the current register for the position of maintenance worker. So we did a recruitment for maintenance worker last fall, and from that recruitment, there are currently 9 eligible candidates on that register. The hiring manager for that position has interviewed 4 of that 9. There are a couple that have not responded to our attempts to contact them to see if they're still interested in the position. And so we're looking for the ability to reopen that recruitment to provide a supplemental list of candidates to add to the register.
So this is a new list? I mean, these
This
are
would
new
not-
candidates?
This would not be a new list. This would be
Well, I would
supplementing.
move to allow the supplemental list of candidates.
Second, for purposes of discussion.
Okay.
For maintenance worker.
Are there more other questions?
My only question, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Is this unusual that so many people would not respond?
I don't think it is typically is unusual. I think, you know, if people's email address has changed or their phone number has changed in the time that's passed. And I do want to point out that these people this register would remain active. And so the folks that are currently on the register are still eligible for consideration. So if they can still come in and you know, be interviewed and move forward in the selection process. This request is simply a request to add more candidates to the current register. So we would reopen the recruitment.
I only raised the issue because we have really huge unemployment right now all over the country, and doesn't sound like this is a bad paying job. So I'm just wondering, given 10-12% unemployment, it would seem like people would almost be flooding to any position that came available.
I can tell you that part of the desire to expand the list is to also try and attract candidates who have some more of the preferred qualifications and not just the minimum qualifications due to operational needs. And so I think we're just looking to see if we can attract additional candidates for those purposes as well.
And if I could say, I worked on the original recruitment. Tom, you make a great point. When this original recruitment was opened, we were looking at the time period of around October to November of 2019. So we had a very different scenario at the time. So the fact that there is higher unemployment, you make a great point that we may have a larger applicant pool now that we're reopening it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll have roll call.
Okay, Marion Knight,
Yes.
Tracy Nally,
Yes.
and Tom Betts.
Yes, and I warn you, my internet says it's unstable, and so I hope I don't get cut off again.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah, mine says that too. So I'm just,
And I thought it was
Crossing my
me that was
fingers.
unstable, not the net.
who knows what it
Right.
is. So
Okay. Information items.
Okay, well, we have had some movement here at the city. I'll run down the list of what we've seen. So for new hires, we have hired Tim Corral and Daniel Meyer as firefighters, and Michael Lawrence as an electrician. For promotions, we have Shelby Mamano, who was promoted to Administrative Assistant 2 in Public Works, and Kevin Morris, who moved to Maintenance Worker in Public Works. And then for separations, we had Leanne Augustus, who was the Administrative Assistant in the Legal Division. She separated, as well as Valerie Marcotte, who was a Police Services Representative, Elizabeth Beatty, the Administrative Services Manager, and Jeremy Levy, who was the Fire Prevention Officer.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay.
Okay. There being no other business to come before?
Excuse me, I raised a very valid concern about your problems with mission and values, and you have a civil duty to answer that question. You are making job descriptions that mention city mission and values, and those do not exist. You have a civil duty to take care of this, and it is a real concern. I don't think you should ignore me. I think that's wrong.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Last month, before the thing went all unstable on me, I was asking a question, and I guess I'm legitimately going to ask the question for Mr. Hansen. Do we have a strategic plan that lists mission and values?
So I will say when the city references mission and values, that references our code of conduct. That is an internal policy that all employees are provided with on their first day of employment.
Okay, so we don't have it publicly available?
I am not aware of that. I cannot say for certain, but my understanding is that is what that statement references.
Okay. I raised the issue because I am required to do a strategic plan for missions and values and objectives and stuff for my office. The Dean of Students office is required to do it. The Vice Chancellor, and we got more missions and values than you can shake a stick at. And they're all very good things, actually. I was just wondering, because I know that like the Urbana Free Library has a strategic plan, and has missions and values and objectives, and it outlines like 5 years worth of great projects. They took a lot of time doing it. The county has a strategic plan that, and it's very public. I'm just wondering if that's something that the city has, or if they're going to undertake a drafting a strategic plan with strategic initiatives so that this question is more public. I think it's a legitimate question that Mr. Hansen raises. I mean, I think I know what the mission and goals of the city of Urbana are, but I think it's a legitimate question.
It might be a legitimate question, but I don't think that is the commission duty to come up with a mission and value statement. That would be something that would already be established by the city.
I totally agree with you. But since we are referencing these descriptions, I think it's a legitimate question, and maybe we can take up that question not as a commission, but our personnel folks saying that this question has come up and it needs to be answered in some fashion. I agree with you. I don't think the commission itself, I don't think we have a strategic plan or strategic mission, and I don't think it's our job to write that. But since we have descriptors in what we're adopting that do directly and impliedly suggest that there is a mission, maybe we should seek out a way in which that can be more public, so that we don't have a concern of this nature. That's all.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is there an action that you would like for me to take on this?
If you could research and see if there is a mission statement and bring that information back to us at our next meeting?
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Get rid of,
And there have been, go ahead.
get rid of COVID.
I wish it was in my power. Okay, there being no other business, this meeting stands adjourned.